Hello, welcome back. So this is our Friday class. Um, we're doing both the Thursday class and Friday class together. So right now we're gonna talk about string and integer functions. So let's do some quick review. So first of all, a string again is anything in quotation marks. So if you have quotation marks, anything you put inside of it is considered a string. This entire thing is a string. So you can have words, you can have numbers, you can have special characters, right? That's a string. It could be anything. So if you want to type a word, if you want to store a word inside a variable or something, you'd use a string for that. And there's also integers. Again, those are just numbers. All right, integers in math is just any number without a decimal point. Uh, and same thing in programming. Integers are numbers. Specifically, they're the numbers without decimal points. If you have a decimal point, it's called a float. Again, that's not something we need to worry about right now. So we'll disregard that. So let's talk about some string and integer functions. So let's first talk about strings. So a string, again, is anything inside these quotation marks. And one of the string functions that we're going to learn is lower and upper. So what this does is it's going to convert all the letters in your string to either uppercase or all to lowercase. So for example, if you have hello, this string, and you want to make all those letters uppercase, what you need to do, press period, and then upper, and then your parentheses. This is how we convert all the letters in hello into uppercase. So here we can add a print statement so we can print this out. So if we press run, you see all the letters got converted into uppercase. So we started off with hello in lowercase, and then it prints out the uppercase version. Opposite, also the opposite. Nope. Hello, and then lower is going to turn all those letters into lowercase letters. So hello used to be uppercase, now everything is lowercase. So that's dot upper and dot lower. So let me make a comment for that. So lowercase again is you can use dot lower with those parentheses, and then uppercase is dot upper with that. Okay, so that's one of the string functions that we're going to learn. Another one is concatenation. If you've learned, if you've done programming before, concatenation is basically just when you can combine two strings together. So for example, if you want to combine the string hello and the string, I guess we'll do world. Um, yeah, so there's a space here because when you do concatenation, it doesn't actually add another space. So we'll just add a space there. But if you want to combine these two strings, say, actually, you know what? Let's do word one equals hello, and word two equals world. If we want to combine these two strings, technically those are variables, but they are strings technically as well, because the word one equals this string hello. So say you want to combine those two variables together, and then when we print them out, it's going to say hello world. So I think we'll add a space here. But instead of a print statement, we can say word one. What we need to do is we need to add a plus sign. So this plus sign will concatenate these two words, these two variables, these two strings, and then word two. So word one plus word two is going to combine these two strings together. So when we press run, actually, no, clear console. When we press run, you see that it prints out this entire string right here. Okay, so word one, which was this string, gets combined with, gets like added to this string right here. So notice that there was a space here. There's a space here. So if you didn't have a space and when we press run, it would just be, you literally just combine these two words with no space. So just keep that in mind if you do want to combine two strings and you want a space, and put a space somewhere. Or you could also add in your own space. So here, another you can add a space here, then plus here. So word one, the string hello, And then you can add a space to the end of that, and then you're going to add word two, which is world, at the end of that. So when we press run now, you can see now there's a space there because we just added a space right here. Again, the plus sign means concatenation. So things is the plus sign. So the plus sign will combine strings together. Yeah, that's pretty much all the string functions that we really need to talk about right now. The next one we're going to talk about are integer functions, so things that you can do with numbers, specifically arithmetic operators. So, say num1 and num2. All right, so with numbers, you can add, you can subtract, you can multiply, you can divide, you can do exponents. And for example, if we have 3 and 5, if we want to print the sum of those two numbers, right, we can do plus. So the same thing as in arithmetic, the plus sign means you plus. So our output's going to be 8. Output's going to be 8. If we, if we do subtraction, right? Subtraction is the dash, the subtraction sign. Then we're going to see 5 minus 3, num1, which is 5, minus num2, which is 3, equals 2. That was our output in the console, right? And then multiplication, there's no multiplication sign, that X. So what we use is the asterisk. And the asterisk is if you press Shift and 8 on your keyboard, so it's like a star shape. This is the multiplication sign. So it's not X. If you type in X, it's going to give you an error. This is the multiplication sign, this asterisk. So if we console log and run it, 15. 15. 5 times 3 is 15. And then there's division as well. Division is a slash. So num1 divided by num2. And you get us 5/3, right? It's not going to give you a fraction, it's going to give you a decimal. So these are the arithmetic operators, or the integer things you can do. And something you probably realize is the plus sign is the same thing for combining strings, but it's also the same thing for adding two numbers. So this this is multiplication and then this is division. Yeah. All right, so we'll do like a quick detour exercise. In the chat, can you private chat me? Starting with the print statement, can you print out the one line of code? How would you print out the answer to if I gave you 50 times 60, something like that? Can you do a print statement that would multiply these two numbers together and then just private chat me? If you need help, just let me know. You're gonna have a print statement that's gonna print out in the console. What's 50 times 60? You. Yeah, so another thing is you don't actually need to create variables for it. You can just put them straight into the print function. But yeah, it does, that would indeed print out the answer. Okay, so this is the solution. So first of all, again, you could just create you could just create variables for it. But the easier way of doing it is we're just going to disregard those for now. 50 times 60, we can't leave that there. That's going to be an error. 50 times 60, we can just say print 50 multiplication sign 60. It's as easy as that. Okay, console. There we go. 3,000. And that's going to print just 50 times 60. That's all you need. Again, you could do num1 equals 50, num2 equals 60, and then multiply num1 and num2. But those are unnecessary steps. You can just put them in the print function. All right, so yeah. And another thing we need to talk about is the arithmetic operator plus and also the concatenation thing plus. So you can't combine two strings and you can't combine a string and a integer or with a Boolean. So if you want to combine something or you want to use an arithmetic operator, they have to be the same data type. So for example, if you have the string 5, you cannot add it to the number 5. If we try to print this out, there's going to be an error because you can only concatenate a string with another string. Or you can only add two numbers together. You can't have a mix. So there are fixes to this. So there's the string function that looks like this. Whoops. So string, or str, what it's going to do is whatever you put inside the parentheses is going to turn into a string. So let me have those variables, var1, 5, 2 equals 6, like that. Okay. Say we want to concatenate these two. So our output should be 56. So if we want to concatenate these two strings together, then what we need to do is we need to convert var2 into a string. Right now it's an integer. Right? You can see it. There's no quotation marks around it, and it's a 6. The 6 is yellowish, green, whatever. So how we convert this into a string is str in parentheses, and then that variable var2. We're going to combine. So we're going to combine var1, which is a string, the string 5. We're going to concatenate it, which means we're going to combine the two strings. We're going to add a string of var2. So we're going to turn var2 into a string. So var2 is the number 6. Then we're going to turn it into the string 6. So now when we run it, see that it works. 5, 6. So we added the string 5 to the string 6. So we didn't actually add the two numbers together. We added the strings together. So we just added the number 6 right after the number 5. Right? We didn't add those two numbers together. We added the strings of those two numbers together. The opposite of that is we want to add those two numbers together. So we need to convert both of those numbers into integers. So how to convert that into an integer is instead of str, we need to convert var1 into an integer, I and t. And then in parentheses, the thing you want to convert into a number. So int var1 plus var2, int var1 was a string 5. The int function is going to turn it into a number. So now it's the number 5 plus the number 6. So our output is now 11 because we added the number 5 to the number 6 as opposed to the string 5 to the string 6. Okay, how does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, let me know and I can explain it again. But I'll have this to clear. String is okay. And then the next thing we're going to talk about is input. So you can actually take in an input from the console. So what that basically means is you can type something into the console and it can store it as a variable or something like that. So the homework is actually going to ask you to take two integer inputs, multiply those two numbers together, and then output a string that combines the first number, the second number, and then the answer. So the input, for example, if you want to do var1, if you want an input, all you need is write input and then parentheses like this. So this is going to be, it's going to wait for you. See here that it's going to wait for you to type something into the console. So this is not something that you can usually do if you don't do the input thing. This is something going to store it as a variable. So if we type in like 6, for example, where it's going to output 12 because variable 1 equals the input. We inputted 6. So now 6 plus the variable 2, which is also 6, it's going to print out 12. So this is what input is. And sometimes your input is not going to match the data type that you want. So what you can do there is you can convert your input into either a string or an integer, depending on what you need it to be. So in this case, say we didn't have this right there. We need to add var1 to var2. If we're yeah, so the error is again the data types are not matching. So the input that we give into it is going to become a string, but we want it to be an integer because we're going to add the two numbers together. So what we need to do is convert whatever input into a integer. So int, and then that parenthesis is going to go around this input like so. We press run. Now we can enter an integer like 10, for example, and it should output 16 because 10 plus 6 is 16. That's what we get. 16 is our output. Okay, so now we're going to do like a brief overview of the homework. So you can copy the instructions. So these are the instructions. Write a program that takes in two integers, multiplies the two numbers, outputs this. The product of then the first number that you put in, the first input, this and second input is the answer. So I could give you a couple hints. The first hint is that first number is going to be a variable that needs an input. It needs to be an integer, by the way, because you're going to multiply them. And then the second number also has to be an integer input. And then answer has to be itself a variable. And or at least that'd be a lot easier to read. And then from there, you then need to convert all of these into strings again after you've added the answer together. After you've multiplied out to the answer, you need to convert everything back into a string so that you can concatenate it with the words the product of first number plus the string space and space, and then the second number, and then you concatenate it with space is space, and then your answer. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of time to do that. It is posted in Google Classroom, so you can do it there, or you can do it in Replit. And if you have any questions, just let me know. And yeah, afterwards, after we will move on to if statements and operators, comparison operators.